Good morning, Morro Bay. Thank you for attending today's Tourism Business Improvement District meeting. I'd like to first establish a quorum, but I'd also like to thank our dedicated volunteer members on this board, Taylor Newton, Sean Green, myself, Charlie Yates, Stephen Allen, and Chris Kosteka. Thank you for being here. We have a good meeting today talking about all of our successes. So first, I would like to find out, are there any board announcements this morning? I'd like to make an announcement that the Winter Bird Festival is starting today, and it's very exciting, and the weather couldn't be better. So I think we're in for a great weekend. So staff announcements. Jennifer.
Thank you, Charlie. So I have a few things I wanted to mention to you that Visit California is currently in market. They came in yesterday with tour travel operators from China. There's 16 of them here, and they stayed at the Inn at Morro Bay last night, and we took them to Dutchman's. And then this morning they were scheduled to go out with Subsea, but we've changed that with the weather, and so we're taking them to the National Estuary Program, and then into the Skateboard Museum, and then down to see the otters, and then they will be leaving, heading into the city of Slough. So that is funded by Visit California that they're here, and the timing couldn't be better. Yesterday we got the Visit California, their annual guide that just came out, and on page 45 there's a 2-page story on Morro Bay with Dream Drive, so this will be out all year long, so that's a really great coup for us, so that's really nice. Additionally, besides the Winter Bird Festival, we also have the Morro Bay High School Wrestling Tournament in town, which is a really big deal for Morro Bay. It brings huge people into the Embarcadero because it's an individual sport, so we see better flow of traffic on the Embarcadero. T-bid board applications, we received 9 total applications, and those go to City Council on January 24th for review, and they'll be hopefully giving us a couple new board members, which is exciting. CCTC, we had the opportunity to get the back cover of their 2019 map, which is fantastic. So we have been on the front, and now we'll be on the back, which is, again, very good for Morro Bay. A couple more things. We have some traveling coming up that I just wanted to mention to you, that Visit California, their annual Outlook Forum is in February 10th through the 13th, which I will be attending. And then we're closed on the 12th, the offices, but I'm not here for that. And then Amgen is trying to schedule they do a one-day conference that's about public relations and marketing. It's usually in LA. They're trying to schedule that in coalition with the Visit California Outlook, so hopefully that'll be either on the 13th or 14th right there at the same facility. And then again, the office is closed on the 18th for National Holiday, and then Go West is coming up in Boise, Idaho in late February. Currently we have all of our open, this week is open for setting all my meetings up, so I put in all my meeting requests, and we'll see how we do with getting appointments for that. That's all of my announcements.
I'm sorry, Jennifer, what is Go West?
Go West is a travel tour operator. It's kind of like speed dating for tour operators. So you preset your meetings. They have a very long list. I actually sent it to your hotels and to see if there's any that they want me to meet with. And then I also go out and you actively go through all of the people that are going to be there and see who would be a good fit for Morro Bay as far as they're bringing tours into California or they're interested in bringing them into Central California. And you go and you have like 8 minutes to meet with them and sell them on your destination. And then they ring a bell and you move to your next meeting. It's pretty crazy. The room is probably got, Charlie, what would you say, maybe 400 total?
About 500 tables. And
it's crazy.
Last year I attended for Jennifer and for representing Morro Bay, and I was proud to do so. And one of the things that I was really impressed with was that we created a flyer that was in Mandarin and English, and it was a folded flyer that had the same information both in English and in Chinese, and it impressed them. We also gave them gifts of seashell or sand dollar, gold and silver ornaments, and it was very well received. But it is a challenging time. You have to really work it, and then you also have to rework it. So you've got to go back and fill your holes, but very exciting. So it should be really good.
I actually have a flyer because of the group that was here last night. So this is it. It's in Mandarin, and the front side shows Morro Bay, has our listing of events, has a map of LA to San Francisco showing where we are, and then the back side, I put together this schematic, and they really like it, showing by month what you can do in Morro Bay, like when season is open for fishing, when migratory birds are here, when whale watching, and it shows us as basically a year-round destination. It shows us really, really well. So they love this flyer, and like Charlie said, because it's in Mandarin, they really appreciate that. So I'm excited to go West again and get some more contracts. One of the things that, talking with Michael Wembolt from SlowCal, he said that one of the problems that we're having with bringing buses in here is a lot of the hotels have stopped serving breakfast, and the buses, that is a requirement that they want a breakfast on site to capture those contracts. So I might go back out and talk with some of our hotels and see if they'd be interested in bringing that back in so we can get some more bus business.
Even if it was just for specific groups, it's something to look at. Thank you. We have no consent agenda today. I'm going to open the floor up to public comment. All right. So nice to see you, Jane.
I know. Hi, my name is Jane Beeman. I am the owner of the Bayfront Inn in Morro Bay. We're 16 units. I also served almost 3 terms on TBID. So, a lot of you have been getting my emails, and I thought maybe I'd go ahead and show up in person since I'm in town. I've been out of town a lot, but keeping up to date with everything. So I have a few things I'd like to say publicly. First of all, as a small hotel, I would like to have more communication by the board members to its stakeholders. A lot of us are working our hotels constantly. We don't have the ability to follow exactly what's going on in meetings or anything else. And also in the past, we're used to getting phone calls by board members, hey, what do you think about this, before they vote? Because you do represent us, even though you're advising the city. And also we're used to getting weekly emails by the tourism manager, and we haven't been able to get one of those. We usually get just an ad, copies of ads that's going out, or reports on a monthly basis, which are very helpful. But we'd like to know a little bit more what's going on. So one is communication. 2, events. We're getting, and a big thank you goes to the city for its general fund contribution so that we can continue to support events. As you heard by Carl Robato, events are very important for overnight stays. So one of the things, though, that I found out in other cities is what works and what doesn't is a big deal to follow up on events to see which ones should go forward, which ones should be dropped. Some other tourism bureaus canvass events. They ask their attendees, 1, if they're there for the day, or 2, if they're there for overnight. And if they are there for overnight, what type of lodging do they stay in? I think that's really important because our events, everything that we do here is supposed to promote overnight stays. Just to let you know, that not only does it validate events, but for Pismo, it was important that they found out some events that they thought weren't working, 70% of the attendees were actually overnight stays. So I think that's really important because we don't have follow-up on any of the events, really. We don't follow up with the hotels. I haven't gotten any calls. And it'd be really important for somebody to be at an event just taking down these notes. This weekend is the Bird Festival. It'd be great if we could have maybe some people from the tourism board there just taking that survey. I think that would be great. The other thing is statistics.
Jane, thank you. I'm sorry, but your time is up, so
okay.
Wrap it up real quick. Thanks. Jane, I so appreciate the comments, and we're with you. I know that getting data is very important. It's very difficult, very time-consuming. Events, I think, are a great key to what we're doing, and I understand that getting data and figuring them out is very key. A lot of these events aren't put on by the city, they're put on by individuals, and so I think it's important that we understand the dynamic of each individual event, how we get that data, and then what do we do with it. So, thank you. Any further public comment?
Can I have another 3 minutes if nobody else?
But you can comment, Jane, you can comment on agenda items, of course. Moving on to business items for the moment. Jennifer.
Sure. So we're going to go through the TOT report for October and November because we did not have our last meeting. So looking at the report for October, there is, I wanted to point out, if you look at the RevPAR 2017 versus 2018, they are both sitting the same at $80. The reason why that is they round up. So we had 2 less rooms this year, but they round up the numbers. So last year was $79.67, where this year was $79.98 for RevPAR. And so that's why they look that way. They actually are rounded up, but they are slightly different. Overall, for market factors, Harbor Festival did happen in October, and I think they're going to look at redoing that. We had a meeting with them this week, possibly making that a 2-day event. They've had huge board changes. They are down to just 2 main board members, and they're looking at actively recruiting a new board, which I think will be really good. So hopefully that we will see some positive change for next year. Our wine promotion that we did in October had fairly good redemption. It had 428 total redemptions. That had to be a 2-night stay for free bottle of wine. For year 1, I'm fairly happy with that. I would like to see that increase. What it did allow is because we were under our budget for that first month, we were able to extend it into February. And then looking at the February TOT report, if you again go to the one-page schematic that we do, there is a mistake on there that I wanted to point out. The 2018 ADR was calculated incorrectly. It was calculated figuring 31 days in November, but there's 30. So actually our ADR for 2018 is $116, not $112. So that was up slightly, which is nice. Some things that happened during November, like I mentioned, the wine was extended in November, which was good. We had 243 redemptions. So those would have been 2-night stays in November, and that ended the day before Thanksgiving, so you were not allowed to redeem wine over the Thanksgiving weekend. The tall ships, moving those down to the T-piers, I think was much more successful. Unfortunately, they had to leave a couple days early due to weather, but they also came in a day early, so that balanced out nice. We had them here a total of 20 days. And I think we'll keep them down at the T-piers. I had great response, and I think they're going to have their review of their grant dollars probably coming next month. They will not be here in person since they're in Washington, but just like last year, they will send down a overview of the costs associated with the total grant, as well as how many people were on their boats for the time they were here. Can I answer any board questions on the TOT reports?
Hi.
Is it
Public
first or?
No,
us?
you can go ahead, Sean.
Comments or just questions?
Whatever.
I do want to point out the outside consultant stressed the idea that we already know to be believed to be true, that we follow a revenue model, and we're looking at revenue above things like ADR and RevPAR and occupancy to some degree, and our occupancy is for the first 4 months of this fiscal year is level or better than the 4 months from previous years, but 2 of those 4 months total motel receipts is actually below those previous months. So I just want to point that out and just keep in mind this idea that revenue matters just as much, if not more, than occupancy rates.
Jane Beeman, Bayfront Inn. Actually, regarding the report, I'd like you to consider the following things. That first of all, it would be nice to make a note somewhere, because other people look at this and they just look at growth, oh, we're doing better than last year. I think it's important to note that this is the first year that the Highway 1 has been opened, so that a 2% growth or a RevPAR growth, that might be higher next year, but I think that's really important. And the other thing is the Jackrabbit. It says Jackrabbit leads, and I want just you to know that those are searches. So if anybody clicks on Jackrabbit, or we get a lead from SlowCal, and that goes to morrowbay.org, and then that goes on Jackrabbit, that is simply a search, not a referral. The referral happens when somebody clicks on a hotel or calls a hotel, which we don't have, we can't track. But that would be something nice that the new website person could provide. I think that's helpful information. Thank you.
So, hi, Joan Solu. I'm just a resident, and I gave Jen a call yesterday because I noticed some either input errors or something on the TOT report. If we can go back to October's, on the October slide also. Oops, no, the other one, the overview. On the October slide, it says ADR was 123 this year, but when I calculated it, and I calculated it 3 times, it was 118. Using the base number of 2,200,557, something like that. I'm going from memory now. But so I called her because, there were some things there that popped out, and she was great. She got right back to me and looked at it and was going back to see what happened. But I think it's important that maybe next time for the record, you ask that be corrected and resubmitted with the correct numbers on it. Because folks who come into town to do economic development or to develop a hotel project, they're going to pull the information from your boards, and you certainly want it to be accurate and correct, because they're going to develop a business model around what we're doing as a community. So just wanted to give you that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any more public comment? Jennifer?
I will check on the ADR for October. Those numbers come from the accounting department. They are always published on the Morro Bay government site, up to date, so she's already made the change on the November, but I will have her double check October ADR as well, okay?
Actually,
And also the Highway 1 is noted on both documents, just so you know.
a quick question about that. On all of these spreadsheets that are either pulled from elsewhere, to what extent is the tourism department manually inserting any numbers into spreadsheets, or are they being auto-calculated, or is someone giving us hard numbers to manually input? I think that's an important distinction, at least from a former accountant, that really nothing should be manually input.
The only thing that we manually input is the total rooms and Jackrabbit leads.
Thank you.
Mary Ann Stansfield with Mental Marketing. And to Jane's point about the leads versus referrals, Jen, because we report that out every month, the searches versus referrals from Jackrabbit. So, Jen, I didn't know if this was actually the referrals that you guys have on here versus searches. This is referrals.
Yeah, but we can't show the leads.
No, but to Jane's point is that these are referrals, it's not just searches. So just... Right. So what those numbers are people clicking on lodging sites, people clicking on the telephone numbers of lodging sites. So the search number is probably twice that or 2.5 times that each month. But that is reported out in the report that I submit to Jen, and I think it's in your board packet monthly.
But they're not bookings. They're still searches.
They're not bookings. They're not
can't-
bookings.
we can't
They're
tell
one step
the
beyond
bookings.
search.
Yes,
okay.
exactly. So it goes from search to lead. I'm sorry, to referral. So it is a referral, and maybe that word leads just needs to be updated to referral on the report.
I think that's probably pretty interesting data to see how far they go.
Yeah.
To keep
I
going.
know. I know if they give
To
it. I don't
Jane's
think
point,
they have that
it's
depth.
important data for me.
Right. So, because to Jane's point, we don't know, they might click on the phone number, but there's no way for us to know if they actually make the call. So, but I can certainly look into Jackrabbit and see if there's any additional data that we can dig deeper.
Do you need a motion for that? We're going to receive and file that. And now we are on to Mental Marketing 6-month review.
Good morning. Thank you. Mary Ann Stansfield with Mental Marketing. Thanks for having me this morning. Bill Stansfield from Mental is also here in the audience. Here to present our 6-month review on successes, as Charlie mentioned this morning, as we open up here. And it says part 1 on there, because this is about the 6-month review of the successes of this past month. Part 2, we are coming back, as to your request at the SMG presentation last week, for us to present how we plan to implement the strategic plan. And so we're excited to do that as part 2 for next month's T-bid. So we will be back at doing that, yeah. A lot of good stuff in that report. We're very excited. So, so as far as this month, or this presentation. So one of the big things we did this year that we're super excited about is launching the Adara Impact. Contract started July 1st. By the time we got it all up and running, it was probably about the 4th week of July. So all the data and the stats that we have really begin fully August 1st, I would say. Right now, we're tracking that data and really, looking at it, how we can improve our tactics and our approach to our digital marketing. So one of the key things is that it tracks, Adara helps us track 65% of the website users, and we can track, the origin, of bookings and profiles of the people going to our website, which is really great data. Also, it tracks 20% of our advertising and media searches and bookings, that's directly related to our ad campaigns, which is fantastic. We had none of that data in the past. Tracks, like I mentioned, markets of origin, alternate sites that are searched and booked, so we can really kind of look at our comp set kind of more clearly with true data. Market insights, and then it delivers actionable data to us. And so basically, since August 1st, we've seen the top 6 origins of bookings for hotels to be Los Angeles, and with a strong Orange County component to that as well. San Francisco Bay Area, with the strongest city from that is San Jose, I guess not surprisingly. And Fresno, Sacramento, San Diego, and Santa Barbara. These are some of the numbers. So this is the slide that I updated that's not in your packet. Instead of doing year over year, which we don't have that data, I went ahead and put in the projected data. As I mentioned, Adara tracks about 20% of our Morro Bay lodging properties. And so for the first 6 months, the ad campaign-driven revenue is $84,922. If we project that out as only to make it as if it was 100%, it would come in at $424,610 for the first 6 months of the year. The company, I had a meeting with Adara on Monday, and they are actually starting to implement a new dashboard that's going to calculate those numbers out for us, so I can pull reports with that data. Currently, I'm projecting that data out based on the numbers that they've provided to us. So hopefully the accounting person will make that a little stronger data for you guys. So one thing I wanted to kind of look at on this slide is at the bottom here where it says room nights booked, 571. Oh, the new slide didn't get in there. Oh, well. It doesn't matter, because what I wanted to kind of point out to you is that the room nights booked, 571 at the bottom, and the flight nights booked, 2,942. I think that's a huge opportunity for us to try to capture that and go after, figure out how we can capture more of that market. Those are basically flight nights in and out of San Luis Obispo Regional Airport, SBP. So what we know is that they're booking flights and they're going to stay here in our county, allegedly, if they're flying in SVP, they're coming here, we would imagine, and staying 2,942 nights, of which they're staying in Morro Bay 571. So I think there's an opportunity there for us to kind of analyze that and look at how we can go after that and grow those numbers.
Marianne, really quick, can you just back up and explain for the public that's listening or that is here how the Adara impact works as far as and why it's only picking up a certain percentage of the total?
Of course,
just
of course.
Kind of give a little more in depth.
Sure.
I know the board is familiar with it, but there's... Yeah.
Absolutely. Happy to do that. So as far as the capabilities of Adara, they have partnerships with flag companies, other airlines, brand hotels, international hotels, of which within our 915 hotel rooms in Morro Bay, they can track 20% of those bookings. So when we see the number 84,922 as our revenue drive from bookings, that's only 20% of the potential bookings that our ads had driven. And so if we were to calculate that out, we multiply that number by 5 to get 100% of the potential bookings from our ad-driven bookings.
Yeah, and this is basically, just a reminder, we picked this up because, like we've talked about, Jackrabbit does not show the link through to actual bookings, and so this gives us an opportunity to start showing, when they come through, that they're actually booking.
Exactly. Thanks, Jen.
Yeah.
I think that this program and the data that they provide is really important. I don't know any of our other ComSet in the county locally that is tracking this data. I know that the county looked at getting a contract with Arrivalist, and which is a similar type of tracking, travel tracking company, and I think the cost was prohibitive. So the fact that you guys chose to do this, approve the budget to do this is really, really incredible. And so we get these real dollars and these real bookings because you guys know the importance of it, and we really appreciate that. This really helps us, like I said, fine-tune the tactics that we're going to apply and integrate into the SMG strategic plan, and so that's really cool. The other element of it is that it does track our website. For those of you listening that aren't aware, it tracks our 65% of the website visitors and what revenue is generated just from people going to our website. So it's not necessarily attached to our advertising, but we know that they ended up at our website somehow, and then this was the activity, and this is the origin of their bookings and so forth. So,
okay, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. So we can use Adara to show that our digital marketing efforts are paying for themselves, which is really nice. Digital spend to date is $83,784, with our campaign revenue that we're showing at $84,922. That's apples to apples, about the same number. And we have spent about $20,000 on print to date, and based on the SMG report, not to get too far ahead of myself, but, we might want to look at moving some of that print money into our digital, being the numbers that Carl put together for us to project what we should be hitting as far as website increase year over year. He wants to see us at 20%. Right now we're at about 8.5% for the first half of the year. So I know we're going to work on some things to kind of start stretching ourselves and reaching higher for those goals. So, the other part of social media year to date, we're up 7% in Facebook, 54% in Instagram, and 13% in Twitter. So, really working that digital side of the marketing efforts here for Morro Bay. Moving on, this was really a fun year for us to launch the new creative that we got approved, and the first ad that we launched was the Highway 1 Open, to everyone's delight. What we did was we approached this from an international ad buying tactic, because we really felt that there was going to be a lot of push nationally and domestically, or in California, and so we wanted to reach out to our English-speaking international partners. And so we did a little ad campaign, social media and Adara ads in Canada, the UK, and Australia. And this campaign ran for the month of August, and we had a really great response, actually, and we generated about 2,500 site visits, or 9,399 site visits from this campaign. And the PR impressions were calculated based on the fantastic Dream Drive concept that Jen worked with Visit California on, and received a lot of press, obviously, on that. So that's what those numbers are. Launched new creative again September through October. Jen reworked the wine program so that this year every hotel was participating. I think in the last 2 years, we reached out and hotels said, yes, I want to participate. So we had a smaller number of hotels that were participating in this program. I think 9 was the highest that we had. So this year, Jen worked with local retailers and set up a product that every single hotel could then benefit from. And so I really think that had a lot to do with the activity and occupancy numbers that went up this year, both in September and October, up 2% year over year. We did generate from this campaign, based on the Adara stats, $28,693 in revenue, which projects out to $143,000 for those 2 months in revenue generated by this campaign. And for November and December, our November numbers were really high. A lot of activity in November. Occupancy, you can see here, is up 3%. And this year, what we did was we focused on Morro Bay as a holiday. Oh, apologies. This year we focused on Morro Bay as an event destination, as a holiday destination, and we just did branding ads this year. We didn't really have a call to action. In years past, for November and December, we had done Kids Get Free Stuff program, which for this coming year we kind of thought it through this year and thought, maybe that program would work better in the spring for spring break, family vacations, and that kind of thing. So we're going to do a Kids Get Free Stuff concept in the spring, but for November, December, we really focused on the incredible events roster that Morro Bay has. Jen, of course, hired Terry Bayes. This was our second year of Winterfest. We did kind of have that unfortunate bad weather. We had to move the lighted boat parade, which we'll have to see how that's going to affect the December numbers. We don't have those yet. But we had really great results from the campaign, and the revenue tracked from our ads for November, December was about $30,000.
Marion, can I ask you a question?
Of course.
For the Winterfest events, I'd gotten some feedback on our winter events that and I wanted your response.
Of course.
That they were more drawing locals and weren't drawing overnight stays. How do you feel about that comment?
Well, I'm not surprised. I think that there are going to be some. So, of the series of, I think, 15 events that they did, some definitely are more geared to drive overnight stays. Others are going to draw more of a local crowd, families looking for things to do. The snow, the Elf on the Shelf, some of the stuff was midweek. But I think overall, what we're trying to do is show Morro Bay as a holiday destination. And so, the more events that we have, the more days that they cover, so we have about 15 days of events, the more, over time, we're going to draw more people to this destination. Because we need something to promote. We need something to sell. We've got really strong numbers for our but the boat parade, and Jen and her team has done a fantastic job of expanding that to a 3-day event kind of thing, with the boats. So the other events are really a way of talking to those people who are already coming for the weekends and saying, hey, we have even more things. You can stay longer. We're looking for, it's more of a long-term strategy.
So that kind of plays to what Carl was saying about talking about our uniqueness during the off season and a place to get away to.
Exactly.
I see. So not necessarily do the events per se bring overnight stays, but the theme of our off season draws people is what we're pitching.
Right. So we're saying we have 15 days of awesome holiday events, and I don't know any other area that really can say that. And again, it's a long-term strategy. So we're going to see the first people that are going to start showing up are people here that live here locally. We got a lot of really great local press, but we are getting those events out through public relations and through advertising as well. And so we're going to see it tick up. This is only our second year. I think over the next couple of years we're going to see improvement.
This is one last. So on your next presentation, where you said you'd do the discuss the marketing plan.
Yes.
You're going to focus a little bit on that winter off season. Bit that he talked about. I thought that was a really important part that he talked about, was how do we sell our down season and
right. Okay. Yeah, absolutely. It's our focus all the time. Really it is about off season. How do we grow that? And then of course midweek business in the summer and all throughout the year.
Just in terms of tone, I think this particular ad walks the line exactly how we need to, just from my perspective, that we're not promoting events for the sake of promoting events. It's that we're having events and branding our city and the events, and I think this particular ad really does that job. I know we spent a lot of time focusing on events which do drive heads in beds that particular weekend, but it's hard to say what the long-term benefit of that is until we brand it in this way.
Right. Thank you. I really appreciate that.
I want to make a quick comment about Winterfest. So some of the events that are in the middle of Winterfest, like Gingerbread House for Taylor, obviously a local event. It's not funded by TBID, but we are taking all of those events as a whole and leveraging them so we can say 15 days of things to do. So not everything in there is funded by us. Some of it is local based. We did fund the snow this year, only from the aspect that we wanted to get real snow and try to grow that. Unfortunately, I think the boat parade moving was really a difficult thing for our first week of December. But we ended the month with, a 4-day weekend, backed up to another 3-day weekend going into the end of the month. So that should help our numbers.
Marianne, you said a key point there about long term.
Yes.
And so I think that's going to be the most important about the Winterfest. We tried real hard to train our staff to quit talking about boat parade and start talking about Winterfest.
Right.
Because the boat parade's going to sell out. It's
Right.
been selling out for years. So I agree with you wholeheartedly. I would like to challenge you, too, to think of an event that can be consistent during that entire 15-day period. My wife wanted me to bring this up, but ice skating rink. And I guess they must not be as expensive as they once were. Maybe there's new technology. Southern California town, small Southern California town, had 2 this year. One out in the wine country and one downtown.
Yeah.
And thousands of people came. Now, it'll be a lot of locals the first year, but then people that come and see that, then they know they can spread that out any day in those 15. Oh, they're sold out boat parade, but hey, we can still go and go ice skating.
Right.
So maybe that could be something you could look into.
for sure.
You charge for that, but by the way, you can charge, it's $20 entry fees for those, so it's a moneymaker generator for the hosts.
I do know of we have had ice skating rinks in San Luis at the Madonna Inn Expo Center there. Generally every year, and then in Atascadero I don't think they had it this past year because of just space, but the years prior, 2 or 3 years prior, they had an ice skating ring up there. Pardon me? They did do snow. They do snow every year. A lot of the cities do snow, and so I think that kind of keeps it a local event as well, but as far as the ice skating rink, I mean, it's definitely worth looking into. I think, I can't remember if liability was one of the issues as far as cost-wise, but I think it has been successful in other cities in the past, so it'd be worth looking into for sure. Thank you.
Ideas that can extend that entire 15 days. We had some downtown,
Absolutely.
so it's not, I have to be on there this weekend, and if the hotel's sold out, we'll go next year. Be nice to move them.
And also, so if somebody comes for the weekend, they see there's ice skating in 2 days, maybe they'll extend their stay. And so there's those opportunities. So that's a great idea. Okay, wonderful. So, yay, we got the outdoor board up in October this year. Sorry about the delay on that. Was there another question before I moved on?
No, I just was commenting I'd love to see a winter shark week. There was a great picture of a great white shark in the Back Bay 2 weeks ago, and I'd love that.
With the surfboard with the shark teeth?
Yeah, come to Morro Bay, check out our sharks. Deadly.
Oh my gosh, okay, I have to make a note of that because there are shark fanatics out there for sure. Okay. That's hilarious. Thank you. So outdoor board, yay. So there was a delay on that, and I know that it was a concern for some people, but there was a couple of things that went into play in that. One was just, getting all of the new creative approved. That kind of elongated the process, but the actual outdoor board itself was in disrepair. And so one of the challenges for our team was to find someone who could repair it, because the people who own the board didn't care. They were like, you're going to rent it, you need to fix it to your specs. And we're like, okay. So we had to get several quotes. Some people just looked at it and were like, no thank you. So it did take us a while to actually find someone who was willing to fix the board. And basically it's the part that sticks up that says exit Morro Bay Boulevard. It had fallen off, and so anyway, that we got repaired. So finally it was October, yay, it was fixed, and we got it up. So I know we've gotten some good feedback on that, and so we were excited to get that done. November, so we had some print ads go out in November. So here's some print versions of some ads. So the Women's Day November-December issue, there was a remnant, which is kind of like they have extra space, so they sell it to us super cheap, which we really like. So this Women's Day fragment, this was a full page that went out in the November, like I said, the November-December issue in the Fresno area specifically, to about 20,000 subscribers there. And then the other one, the Canadian Traveler, that's the winter issue. It's about a sixth of a page ad, and that print distribution is to about 25,000 subscribers, and that media buy, we actually came with a digital component as well, about 100,000 impressions and 4 e-blasts for 4 months, from January through April, into that market. And the digital ads also have this California fun is everything. So that's the concept for that. That media approach. Okay, published stories. Here's just a sample of some of our published stories from the first half of the year. This Washington Post story was really great. This actually, hits one of the 3 differentiators that Carl Roboto identified for Morro Bay, which we've always known, but it's just so nice to have the support of his strategic plan about how we're an affordable destination. As far as coastal cities go, we have the REI, we're the REI, we have kind of the cool, funky California vibe, but affordability, is not found in Southern California and other cities that have those two other differentiators. So this story was written from one of our media people that we're familiar with. They did not come visit. It was a story that they wrote based on their other information that they'd gathered and done research and reached out to us. And this story got picked up nationwide by other newspapers and online publications, including MSN, which has huge numbers. So I was able to find about 239 million impressions for this article, which is really great. And then other Morro Bay feature stories, again, back to the key elements that Carl points out: support, getting out information about our events. We had a lot of coverage for the Avocado Margarita Fest and the Harbor Festival from NBC, Los Angeles, San Francisco, and San Diego. They have a fantastic blog that reaches a lot of people, and it's called Worth the Trip. It's a travel blog specifically, and we got about 9 million impressions for that effort. San Francisco Chronicle. We know the travel editor there. He came down and visited and did a kayaking and outdoor story, which, again, boom, right to the Carl Robato reports results, supporting that as one of our key differentiators. And then San Jose Mercury News, we had an end of summer vacation, kind of like Labor Day push. And LA Times, we got a story about the Maritime Museum opening, which is fantastic. That's that arts and culture piece that is so important for us to support and get out there to the public. And then MSN, Weekend Getaway in Morro Bay, 915 million impressions. It's a lot of exposure from that site. So those are some of our PR wins for this first 6 months. Overall, public relations impact to earned media impressions, 2.23 billion from all the efforts, which is, apologies again. I'm looking at my own notes here. So thank you, Bill. So earned media impressions, 2.23 billion, ad equivalency of 11.2 million, and those are mainly online media impressions. Publicity value is then calculated out at 33.5 million, and then the social media shares. So we do have an algorithm in a program that tracks how many of our feature stories are shared through social media. And so of our stories for the first 6 months, we know that they were shared 25,000 times as far as what we can track. So
Just to give a thought on how I asked Marianne to put this together was I asked her to specifically put stories for you to see here that were garnered strictly through mental marketing. So they didn't come through Visit California. They did not come through SoCal. So these are strictly stuff that they facilitated. There were other stories that came through those two outlets that got higher impressions, like Sunset Magazine, but I really wanted you to see what they're doing on their own as well.
thank you, Jen. Yeah, I mean, we do a lot, and then there is a team effort that's involved with the PR as well. We work with Central Coast Tourism Council. We get leads from them, and Visit California, similar to what Jen does with the trade side of tour and travel, we do with the PR side. So when we have people coming through, we hook up with them. We help coordinate itineraries and that kind of thing. It's kind of an extension of our services to make sure we develop our PR partners in the travel industry. So. Any questions on that?
I had a question, I think this is the appropriate time, about banners. So for my job, we buy most of our travel package stuff through Expedia or the different apps that we use. We did a whole bunch of different ones this year. And one thing that I was talking to a hotelier about was how much they make so much less money when you do that, as far as versus like a direct booking. And I don't own a hotel, so I don't know a lot about that. And they had said something about like buying banners on Expedia or like Booking.com.
Yeah.
Can you give me feedback on that?
Sure. Yeah, we don't go through any of those. Programs direct. We do buy with TripAdvisor, but it's not necessarily a book. It's not what it's called, OTA. It's not an OTA, and it's more. It's probably one of the most expensive media buys digitally that we do, but they produce results. And now with Adara, I can actually track how many bookings we're getting per impression from TripAdvisor. But we don't do any of those smaller Expedia, Booking.com, Kayak, any of that. TripAdvisor really set themselves apart from the pack early on. They only just added a booking component, I think, in the last 2 years. And so really, it's kind of like the Yelp of bookings versus like the others, like Expedia and Orbitz and that kind of thing, where they take a percentage of the bookings versus going direct. So we don't use those, and we use and then we book our other ads through Adara, which is a travel ad network. So basically, by doing that, instead of like, let's say, buying ads through the Bay Area News Group and those newspapers, which we have done in the past, by going to TripAdvisor and going through Adara, these are travel-focused digital ad networks that we know people are going to those sites because they want to travel. So we're really targeting people who already have that mindset, but we're not going deep into the Expedia and the Bookings.com. Does that answer your question? Pardon me?
Some hotels do. A lot of hotels do sell rooms through those, so that might be part of it. I'm wondering, Marianne, would they be seeing ads that are tracking through, like how they track you when you go onto other sites? Could they still be showing on their?
Oh, if it's a retargeted ad?
Yeah, so if they start on TripAdvisor and then they go on Expedia, is that ad still just tracking through possibly? Is that how they're seeing them?
I can look into that. I highly doubt that, but I can certainly look into that. So are you saying people saw our ads on those sites? Or you're just saying that other people have said they just don't want to do that and you want to make sure we're not doing it?
No, I wanted you to give me a response as you did.
Okay.
I basically doing ads on these different online booking systems was the question. Are we doing ads on banners or whatever ads you are? And I understand that because I use TripAdvisor to get all the different reviews on everything from which gas station to go to in Mexico or what's the best place to eat breakfast. I mean, we use TripAdvisor for all the different spots, but we specifically book, depending on price, with Booking.com, Expedia, Airbnb. And you're saying that those kind of ads are pricey, so we're selective on which one we use, so that's why we're using such as TripAdvisor, because that gives us the best overall attention.
It's partially correct. So let me see if I can clarify. So we use TripAdvisor because it's not an OTA, where if people book through TripAdvisor, the hoteliers aren't paying TripAdvisor a fee. Oh, you are? Just in this last year?
Marianne, if I can interject for a minute, I think a challenge that you would have from your position to advertise on things such as Booking.com and Expedia is, where do you latch onto that client? Because if they're already searching Morro Bay, then the job's already done. So you putting an ad for Morro Bay, they're already there. So it's more those ads work more for specific hotels, to be honest. Okay, someone's interested in Morro Bay, or they're interested in Central Coast, kind of could be, but now it's let's put our hotel out there and have them choose us instead of choosing someone else. So I don't see a real good application for your position. You'd have to reach out all the people who make a hit on Central Coast, and now we want to gear them to Morro Bay. It's like the only latch that I could see. California Coast, Central Coast, and then bring them to Morro Bay is where banners like that might be of benefit.
Right.
And explain, maybe the best way to explain TripAdvisor compared to the other ones, though they are an OTA now, is that they're more kind of like a Consumer Reports is kind of the usage of TripAdvisor. It's where a lot of people go for their information, not necessarily where they always go to do their booking.
Agreed, and great point. Because as I mentioned, TripAdvisor is kind of like the Yelp. Like people go to Yelp when they're looking for a restaurant, and if that's their target, goal. So when people are looking for a destination, they go to TripAdvisor. TripAdvisor was branded that way has been for years, and then in the past couple of years, they did become an OTA. So to your point, people start looking when they don't really even know where they're going to go. with a TripAdvisor versus a bookings.com. And I think that's all part of the sales funnel, quite frankly. So, I don't have really good, I'll put something in my report next month about this, actually, about the sales funnel, because I think it's really important, where, Visit California has a budget, they start here, then the Central Coast Tourism Council, then the county, and then Morro Bay Tourism, and then the hoteliers. And so at that point, that's where people are going to, bookings.com and so forth like that. They're already coming to Morro Bay, to your point. And so I think that's a great opportunity for hotels individually, if that's where they have product to advertise.
So just a little bit more. So when you have a banner or an advertisement that if I were to click on it and it were to take us to our new Morro Bay website, let's say, would that allow me to get pricing for direct booking with the hotels? Because when I do plan these travel packages, I compare the different online booking agency prices for hotels, but I've never been able to compare to what the price would be for a direct booking. I've been doing this for 4 years now, and I've never compared my Expedia price, my Booking.com price, all these different prices to the direct price for the hotel. And I guess a little bit, now that I listened to what Chris said, if I were to be able to click on something that were to take me to the Morro Bay website, which would give me prices for direct booking to the hotels, I would use that. I would look at, what are my prices for the different hotels if I were to book directly compared to my Expedia price, compared to this price. And if a banner were to click me to the website, which would allow me to follow through to the direct prices of the hotels, I, as a consumer, would use that. Yeah. But I never have done that before, and I've been doing this for 4 years all over the world. We're booking travel packages all over the world now, and we only use these online booking agencies.
OTAs, yeah. As a consumer myself, when I travel, I do look up all the numbers, but then I tend to call the hotel just because a lot of times you can find a deal like that. But they do tend to be individual. And so on the website, and what Megan does every month, every season, and does really well, is they reach out to all the hotels and say, okay, what are your deals for the winter? What are your deals for the spring? And a lot of people, their deal is, okay, book direct and you'll save 15%. A lot of them don't advertise that. It's not something that we can just pull from a database and then get everybody's direct price. So it's kind of like you have to do your legwork on that. We do have those, like I said, some listings on our. It's under deals and promotions, so it would be an individual kind of thing to find. I think that's a great idea, though. Okay, what is your real booking price if we called you direct? If we had that kind of database. But
one of the issues that we have is those banners on those particular sites are their proprietary sites. They want us. I thought I killed that. They want us to pay that percentage.
Right.
So
of course.
If they wouldn't allow Morro Bay Tourism to put a banner on Booking.com that would click directly to our site, unless we paid them the 25 to 28%.
Gotcha.
They're going to want to get their cut. So although we all want direct bookings. If I could get 100% direct booking, I would, but I can't. And we're dependent now on OTAs. Unfortunately, there's thousands and thousands of them, and they all kind of conglomerate through a lot of different sites as well. But I understand your point. Mm-hmm. I always tell everybody, shop online and then book direct.
Right.
That's my message to everyone is, hey, shop all over the place and find the best thing. Call us direct and we'll match it or beat it. And I think that's the message that we need to have is, let's work hard to beat the OTA, to get those direct bookings so that the entirety of the dollar stays with us. It's impossible, but it's, we can achieve some gains there, I think.
And Taylor, there's a reason why in 4 years you've never done that, because those are multi-billion-dollar corporations. And the last thing they're tracking all their numbers too, to sell to hoteliers like us, why we should utilize them. They don't want to lose a single customer that looks on their site and then books direct. So that's why you don't see that. And that's why we as hoteliers can pay to get our placement better in there, and it still doesn't work. No offense. Yeah. You pay that, you've done those, right? Special, and then we pay and find out I'm still number 10 listed. Mm-hmm. And it's everybody else, then you have to, book direct is way down here. Mm-hmm. They're smart, and their budget's way bigger than us. So that'd be a tough one to crack.
Yeah, it's all in English too. That's my other thing frustrating. I try to get details from the hotels, like in Spain or whatever, and oftentimes the hotels don't. It's hard for me to communicate with them directly. So, I mean, it's just everything's so much easier with the online. Yeah, I love them.
They make it that way. And Charlie, great message. OTAs, unfortunately, it's an increasing cost of doing business. R5 hotels, you do a web search directly for the hotel to try and book. And these OTAs have fake websites set up. You think you're booking directly or calling, but you're not. You're still going through the OTA. And it actually, in the search engine, it's coming up before our hotel, believe it or not. So that's how sophisticated it's gotten.
So again, to go back to Jackrabbit, that's why we do keep it in place, because that gets you back to direct to the hotel, and that relates back to like the PR stories. Those push us back to morrowbay.org and onto the booking site, trying to do whatever we can. But it's a never winning battle, unfortunately. But we try to grab as much as we can for direct bookings.
Thanks, guys.
I had a question about Adara.
Sure.
When we approved it, at least from my standpoint, it's like a one-year experiment. We'll see how this goes, see what kind of value we're getting out of it. And some of the leading things that you pointed out were that our key bookings are coming from LA and San Francisco and Fresno. Is there anything surprising that's come from Adara so far, like something that's worth implementing, other than it is kind of nice to be able to track?
Yeah, I actually, I'm surprised at our Santa Barbara numbers. We're not doing really advertising in Santa Barbara, so I was surprised about that. Also, it's really nice that it's confirming how strong our Orange County bookings are and searches are. I mean, LA is a region. It's not just a city. So it's really good to know what parts of LA and greater LA are really coming up. Also, the alternate booking. So we have data that says, okay, this is where the origins of the people who are booking in Morro Bay live, and then it also shows where they're alternately searching and then where they're alternately booking. And so, we only have 5 months of data on that. I'm really excited when we get a year sample to really kind of to see what we have. But
what are some of those key?
So I was surprised to see Paso Robles up high. I was surprised to see. I wasn't surprised to see that Monterey is the number one almost every month so far. Monterey. And so to me, it's like they're coming from the Bay Area,
It's the number one alternative destination that someone looks after looking in Morro Bay. I think that's what you meant.
Yes. So we had a couple cities within the county, and then it was like Monterey, Santa Barbara, obviously, the bigger hubs to our north and south. This really demonstrates how many people are finding us that are traveling the one, and so, but Paso Robles, Arroyo Grande, I was surprised. So, like I said, I think we need a bigger sample. Like once we have a year sample, we can really look at this and really fine tune more. But so right now, I feel like we're really just rolling into it and gathering this data and going, wow, this is confirming suspicions. This is confirming ideas that we had originally. But it's also like helping us really fine tune things that we would have never known otherwise. So. Again, that's one of the benefits. Yeah.
Cool. And one other question: you came up here ready to talk about the strengths of what we've been doing and the successes over the last 4 months. But marketing analysis also takes into consideration weaknesses, opportunities, threats, things like that. Are just in terms of shifts or changes or things that we're missing or something that didn't work. Anything in that arena?
Great question. One of our weaknesses right now is obviously Highway 1 and all the storms that we're having right now. It's closing randomly on and off, and so it's really hard to keep up with that. And we're trying to figure out how do we create messaging around that. We had to change some of the content on our website right now because we had, Highway 1 is open, up there, and we're like, okay, well, not every day. So that's a challenge right now. As far as opportunities, I mean, I can't tell you how excited the whole team is about the SMG plan. When I read that, I just went like, yep, this is exactly what we knew, but this now pulls it all together in a really cohesive manner where we can really get behind the messaging, solidify it, and kind of, feel good about, how we, fine tune it and the tactics that we put forth.
Marianne, if I can.
I'll have a better analysis next month for you, if that's all right.
Same with you. I was very excited about the gentleman last month, and some of the ideas and the uniqueness quality of us, how to market that. Real important business meeting last night at the Morro Bay Wine Cellars. No, not even important. But sitting with some people having a glass of wine, and several of the people there, tourists, were coming through, and the uniform opinion there, and someone came up with a tagline, kind of like the gentleman who sat in the back, but they were basically saying this is what the California coast used to be.
Right.
So when you mentioned that Santa Barbara and Orange County is coming, that kind of stuck in my mind too, because you hear Santa Barbara people saying it. Morro Bay reminds what Santa Barbara was 30 years ago or 20 years ago. And if you've been to Newport Beach or Redondo Beach, it's become very commercialized, very busy.
Yeah.
I think there's something to latch on there. How you market that and then make that sound cool to millennials, I don't know. Not every ad attracts every person, right? But that California coast as it used to be somehow just ties in, and right there with the Santa Barbara, that's interesting.
Yeah, I think that's something to note. We do use that in our our key messaging strategy for our landing pages. Our landing page meaning, okay, we have a promotion going on. This is the landing page that we're driving people to, and then we customize the content on those pages every campaign, and we're always sure to say, Morro Bay is how California used to be, and it had, I don't know if I say it exactly like that, but something to that nature. And I think the other key thing that Carl identified, so there was 3 key differentiators, and we were just so ecstatic because one, of course, is the REI. We always say outdoor adventure. We always say, outdoor, water sports or whatever. Right now, we're really excited about fine-tuning on that messaging and what is that, and how do we really craft that messaging. The second thing is the eclectic vibe of Morro Bay, and I think that, in a nutshell, is how California used to be. And so we're really excited to kind of work on that. What is our messaging strategy going to be? We have a meeting next week that we're already going to start, we're already putting drafts together of all that information. But capturing that, I think, would you agree, it's that eclectic kind of piece that Morro Bay has, and it's not commercial, like you said. We don't have the brands. We don't have the branded restaurants, and, it's still, boutique stores and people who live here that are running, the businesses in the retail sector and the restaurant sector, and you can feel it. And the other thing is the fishing, and that was one thing I meant to ask Carl about. He didn't really kind of hit on that. I might follow up with him, but the fishing, the commercial fishing of this, that component of our community also makes us super unique. So anyway.
Just to expand, Chris, on what you're saying about the old California, sitting with this group from Visit California China last night, he said, we've gone to LA and we've gone to San Francisco and we've had a request to see, what else is there in California that's kind of how California used to be. And that was why they decided to come to Morro Bay. So, I thought that was really nice.
Yeah. It's pretty cool. So let's see. Are we good to go forward? Okay, cool. We're almost done here. Just some miscellaneous items. Let me get back to where we are here. So we increased the annual media spend to $35,000 this year. Part of that was due to our discounting our commission rate this year for our 2-year contract. And then what that paid for was the Adara, and then it also paid for an increase in social media ads, which are producing really well. We are also, one of the things we're doing the social media is running a monthly video on YouTube, which gets a lot of play, a lot of interaction. We coordinated about 20 visiting journalists with our and do our monthly PR outreach to generate those features that I showed earlier. Promoted Harborfest and Winterfest with the grant funds this year. Developed and activated a travel trade e-newsletter after the opening of Highway 1. So Jen can really actively go after that international traveler. Worked with Morro Bay team on the Simple View and Simple View on the website. Currently working with Morro Bay team to implement the strategic plan that we're excited about, as I mentioned, and working with the Amgen team to leverage that athlete messaging and the opportunity that Amgen is bringing to Morro Bay to really give credibility within our third year here, having Amgen really gives that credibility to Morro Bay as a cycling destination, as a multi-sport destination, and how do we leverage that and integrate that in with the SMG strategic plan. So we're already started on that, super excited. And then the last page here is really kind of just about next month, our part 2, the February presentation, how we're going to approach the implementation of the plan, the strategic messaging, as I mentioned, the Amgen, all this good stuff, and I'll have more timelines and some action items next month for that. So at this point, if there's any additional questions that we weren't able to cover, I'm happy to answer.
Marianne, thank you so much.
You are very welcome.
Is there any public comment?
Hi, Joan Salou. Thanks, Marianne, for a really good, I think, thorough report. Thank you. I love the Adair information. I think that it's great to collect information, and it's going to be really interesting to see how Marianne and her team leverages that information to make a difference for the tourism entity. Additionally, I'm really curious about Amgen. I'd love to see you guys dive kind of into Amgen. It is our third year, and I'd love to see what marketing is going to be surrounding Amgen and how you're going to put your thumb on that to compress it. And I don't know if you remember that, Taylor might remember this, but when Marianne and Bill came forward to apply for the RFP, when the RFP was first put out for marketing teams to come forward and work with Morro Bay, there was a commercial, and Amgen, we have the opportunity to have a commercial. And I think we were going to doll up a commercial that we already had footage with. We have such compelling footage of Morro Bay. It's what marketers call, nature porn, right? I mean, we have such beautiful, beautiful footage of Morro Bay. But one of the funniest things that caught all of our attention about mental marketing was the ad that they did. And it was driven by this local community that you're all talking about as being unique. And I would love for Marianne to bring that ad back and show you. It was exactly, Taylor remembers it. And this ad is our opportunity. It's our bite at a Super Bowl commercial. It's our community's bite at doing something different, at really getting the attention and really winning over people to remember us. And sometimes people in California, all over California, are going to be advertising on Amgen. All those other communities are going to be doing their version of nature porn, but this is our bite at getting attention. I would love for Marianne to show you guys that ad next time, but anyways, thank you.
Okay, moving on. Amgen update, Jennifer? Oh, Simple View, I'm sorry. I thought we had already covered a little bit of that. Talk to us about our website update. Exciting times.
Hi, Megan Leininger. I'm Marketing and Communications Coordinator. Just going to talk a little bit about the website. In terms of the creative, our prototypes have been approved. We made a couple changes, but not too much. We're kind of focusing on the back end at this point. Just a couple updates. It's kind of hard to see on this, but the bottom graphic is just some events that are added to the homepage so that you see it right when you click on the page. You don't have to scroll at all. It's right there. As you scroll down, it disappears, and you are led to other areas where it talks about the events. And then it's also interesting, the new website's going to have more extensive searching capabilities for all of our listings. So you can search by certain dates, different categories, stuff like that. In terms of the timeline, the launch date is still mid to late April. We're still on schedule that way. The content migration is going to happen March 22nd. This includes category content and new photos.
We didn't expect you to read it. Sean and Maggie have both been sitting with us diligently going through the site. We just want to give you an update.
I had one question after hearing from Carl. He put a huge emphasis, obviously, on our website, but he also emphasized the storytelling aspect of the website and seemed to suggest that we deprioritize the booking aspect of our website. How do we reconcile that opportunity to directly book or send people to our hotels when it seems like Carl's really suggesting that the website is our storytelling long-term branding device as opposed to a booking engine? Seems like a tough, I don't know. Is it thoughts? No? Up here? Anybody? Well, it's great if things do everything, but if something does both, that means it's doing each of those half as well as it could.
Can I?
Go ahead.
I mean, we can address that next month. I mean, really kind of look at it, but I think that, this goes back to the referrals that Jane was talking about. We have that booking engine on every single page, and it's at the top, like above the fold, if you will. I don't think that's the same on the new website, so it is already going to be de-emphasized, I would say. And just the mere fact of this the new template that we have, the new technology that we're going to have, it's going to be so much easier for us to promote the blogs, and that's where the storytelling comes in, to promote the media stories that we're getting. That's again another storytelling tool, and to even put forth our press releases. The current site we have is just so complicated and so buggy, like. It's difficult at this time, but and I also think that we're going to tell stories through the rich media opportunities that we have. So it's not just through necessarily words and content. It's also through rich media like videos and photos. And so even just looking at I know we don't have any images up now, but looking at the new site it's a completely new day in Morro Bay. It's a new story, and these guys have done such an awesome job. So
This content Excel sheet that we're using kind of as our brain, because there's no way to possibly keep it organized if we don't. So it's not readable, and we didn't really want you to get into the detail. I can send you the link if you'd like to look at it, but what this shows you is all of the orange categories are specific category like art or murals, and then the items that are pink are all new content that needs to be written by Megan. So I just want you to see, you're talking about writing, and it's a huge amount of content writing. So all those categories, those are all things that she's currently working diligently on to get rewritten before we launch. It's a huge undertaking.
Jen, if I can say something for a second, back to what Sean said, and last month's meeting, I agree, creating that image is huge long-term. Until we're a real destination that's on the top of someone's mind. I think it's also, until that point, and even after, you're an advertising person, obviously, Marianne, is you always want to have an ask. So somewhere on there, we have to have an ask. If somebody's looking and they're ready to book right now, then we want a button for them to get it done. So, but I agree, long-term, creating that image is hugely important.
And there's
always have an ask on every ad.
Absolutely, and there's several opportunities to click to book. And it's just kind of laid out differently, so it doesn't feel like it's just, roaring at you like click to book, click to book. And then that at the very beginning, that scrolling details on all the events that are coming up on the bottom of the homepage. That was something that we added that was found on the Laguna Beach Simple View website, and We had shown you that, I think, a few months back, and it's a really nice addition so that you see those very first thing to see what's coming into town. I'll fix the thing for you.
And then just going off that too, the picture went down, but that's just the Excel spreadsheet that was up there. The content that was listed under there, under the pink boxes, that's just one of the tabs. So there's a lot of new content that's coming to the website, which is another great opportunity to tell stories that way. And then, good. So before the launch, our priorities are going to be hotel listings, obviously updating all of that. We're also taking bids by photographers to get exteriors of all the hotels. We're going to start, I think, scheduling time starting in February. We'll do like sunset, sunrise, those kind of planning to get photography that way.
So we'll have a good quality exterior of every hotel, and there'll be equal level of quality.
And then we're also focusing on the photos, as Marianne was talking about, using action photos like Carl's plan discussed, and they're going to be mostly Dana's photos, as we've talked about previously.
Isn't that a cool shot she did? Yeah.
And then after the launch, Morro Bay Tourism will be responsible for all the changes and updates to the site. And we're going to be probably holding off just based on time and volume to do the restaurant and retail listings at that time. And we're also looking into getting outside help for editing, updating, and rewriting those listings.
So for the restaurant and retail listings, they would just migrate over from the current site, so whatever they currently state would just move forward, but they really do need to be addressed, written better, written consistently. I was actually approached by Neil Farrell about possibility of him rewriting those for us, so I'm waiting to get a bid back from him to see how that would look. Any questions on the website?
Looks beautiful.
Public comment? Jane?
I think that it's very exciting about getting a new website. But one of the things I want to make sure is that we have analytics and that we get reports on analytics. I think it's going to be really important for educational purposes. We need to know where we're getting the referrals. Not just the hotels, but the site needs to know where it's getting its referrals, and then how those referrals trickle down. In the past, the hotels used to get a monthly report by hotel on that, so that we knew the status of what was going on with the website. I think that would be an important feature, and I'm sure it's very capable. Thanks.
Thank you, Jane. Any further public comment? Seeing none, I'm going to move on. We're going to head to Amgen Tour of California. Jennifer.
Sure. I just want to give you a quick update because it's constantly progressing and we're excited about what's going on. We have our first site visit next week at the fire station. Everybody's welcome to attend. That'll basically be talking about logistics as far as the race coming to town, who's going to be involved. That'll also include CHP, CAL FIRE will be there as well. We've asked our volunteer organizers, which is the Lions Group, to also attend that. So if you're here and in town, please come on down to that. It should be about an hour meeting. Some of the things that we're working on from my aspect with Sam Pruitt is we're putting together a community bike ride that would be pre-race, and it would end on the finish course, so it gives people, locals, the opportunity to actually get on the course and ride through the finish line, which I think is really cool. We're putting together, of course, the VIP packages that are currently out. We've sold 7 out of those 30 packages so far, and that's a little over 4,000 total bookings to date. A lot of those are repeat visitors that were here from the 2017 VIP packages, which is really nice. I had my first meeting with Morro Bay High School yesterday. It went very well. Some of the things that we're talking about doing is activating their ASB to do some land art so that when the helicopters fly over, we'll have some great messaging from Morro Bay, welcome to Morro Bay or something. We're going to see what they put together. I'm going to give them a little bit of open license to see where they come back with, but we might need to help them financially either build those signs or give them materials to build those signs, which I'm fine with doing that. One of the things I talked about with them is doing some sort of a social media campaign where I don't know if it's offering like a bike for a grand prize or cash, something to incentivize the student body to start posting during Bike Month, which is May, and have a very specific set of hashtags where they can go online and just start posting out to their own individual communities and try to get good exposure for Morro Bay as the race is coming into town mid-May. So I think that'll be really exciting. We have our first meeting with Del Mar Elementary next week to see how we can integrate them as well. We have a weekly meeting with the marketing team from Amgen, and one of the things we're talking about is having them either bring a professional cyclist out or one of their PR people to actually do assemblies at both the elementary and the high school. So I think that would be really good. They would probably do those. We're hoping for the first week of May, but it might be in late April. I've also reached out to the junior high, but I have not heard back from them at this point. Some other things that are going on, we've secured Bob Roll to be he's actually the commentator that'll come in with Amgen, and then we've secured him that evening to do a private event at Siren. That'll be a ticketed event that will benefit Slow Bike Coalition, so we should have a pretty good amount of people coming in. They should hold 350 people in that facility, and this is, of course, to push room stays. If you're not familiar with Bob Roll, he's a huge cycling guy. I mean, he's like really well known. He's got this YouTube channel called Bob Key TV, and I mean, it's a really big deal. He's very, very well known. He was a former professional cyclist. He's a sports commentator with all cycling, whether it's Tour of California or Tour de France. And he's been on all different cycling teams. So I think he'll be a really good component for us. So that's that. You guys know Bob Roll? Are you familiar with him at all? Or yeah? Budget just to date, to give you some updates. This hasn't changed much. We have the overall expense to Amgen for the event, which is $57,000, plus our commitment to Sam Pruitt for $12,000. Bob Roll's contract is $2,000. I've set aside $600 to host 3 influencers that are cycling. People, we don't have them assigned yet. We're still trying to work some leads down on that. And I'm putting aside $2,000 for the community bike ride. I don't know that we'll need all that, but I'm just putting money aside so I have it. Income-wise, we have $32,000 committed from SlowCal. Sam is currently negotiating some different sponsorships, but I don't have the physical dollars on those yet, but she's actively working those as well. Can I answer any questions for you guys? No? Of course, this isn't the second part of her, which is the how do we springboard Amgen into the active adventure market. This is strictly about the race, so that's 2 separate things for her.
Do we have an opportunity to do a TV commercial?
We have a current TV commercial that we used for 2017 Amgen that we spent about $10,000 on, and we had made the decision to reuse that again, and I'd be glad to bring it back in for you to see. It's really strong. I mean, the footage is amazing.
We should see it.
I'd be glad to do that.
Yeah, definitely.
Is there any public comment? We're excited about the Tour of California. It's going to be another great way to promote our unique Morro Bay. Seeing none, any future agenda items?
Actually, I have a question about Amgen.
You can bring a question to the floor.
I just wanted to know if it was possible for the hotels to also access that Amgen commercial, because that would be perfect for us to be able to, if you have a YouTube on the commercial, if you give us the link, then we could go ahead and promote it on our Facebook and something else. Great.
I'd be glad to do that. It's also the lead video on the top of our Facebook. You can grab that, but I will send you all the Vimeo connection. Okay, Jane?
Thank you, Jane. And, go ahead.
Not public comment, but Jen, there was so much discussion in Carl's presentation about vacation rentals and trailer parks and stuff. This is an ongoing thing we've been doing for years. Is it time for an update, or is it a simple update, or where we're at with the city council and the city on any of this?
Would you like to agendize something on it, Taylor?
Yeah, if there's something to present. I mean, I know that we're continually talking about it, and we just had an outside contractor we paid for to talk about it, and it's constantly discussed. So I just feel like we should just keep on slamming that nail until something happens. I mean, I like slamming nails.
Yeah. I think for March would be appropriate because Scott's working on that right now.
Scott would do the presentation? I like Scott.
I don't know that, but
I like it when he presents to me.
which Scott are you talking about?
I like Scott Collins.
Okay.
Scott Graham's great too.
They're both pretty awesome.
I have another hopeful future agenda item. In front of the Planning Commission recently, an 83-room branded hotel has been proposed in the site on Atascadero Road next to the high school, which I think is a big deal. One of the so it seemed that the preliminary consensus from the Planning Commission was that not nearly enough public benefit was offered from that project as it currently stands to move forward. But it's certainly not a dead project. And so what came up was this notion of public benefit. The project proposed a handful of so they're asking for a height allowance, a significant height allowance above and beyond the max height. And so they kind of pitched a little bit of bike lane improvement and a couple extra electric parking spaces. And the Planning Commission basically said that's not nearly enough public benefit to allow these exceptions. So why I bring it up here is that there might be an opportunity for us to discuss, kind of in conjunction with what the council already asked us to do and we did with the grant money. It might be worth brainstorming for 10, 15, 20 minutes what infrastructure items the town could use. For example, it feels like we don't have that list of like go-to items that we could ask for. I know Planning Commission in this instance was looking for ideas, as was the applicant, in terms of what hoteliers would benefit from, what tourists would benefit from, what residents would benefit from probably from an infrastructure standpoint. Yeah. Like event parking? You mean sharing? Well, that's
So
the idea of the future agenda item would be kind of a brainstorm, nothing decided, but like, all right, what do we need?
So just to kind of go on the same thought, as far as a future agenda item, Sean, one of the things that I will be bringing back to you is for my 2019-20 budget and how we use those general fund dollars to influence tourism and resident benefit items. So it's already on there. It's already part of it. It's exactly why we did the lighting this year. It's the same thing. So it'll be more extensive for the next year budget, but it's a next year budget item. It's not something that we can get into right now.
I think what you might be saying is maybe we can give some ideas to city council so that when a hotel proposal such as this one comes in and they're saying, what can we do? And, they had some ideas. The city council could say, hey, we really need some help with this. I like that idea.
And
it doesn't mean it's anything formal, just we can share some ideas.
And that is what we're going to do. So I'm reaching out to some specific groups, community groups that are going to come together and give opinions to you as a board of what they would recommend. Is that okay?
Seeing none, I would like to thank you all for being here today and for all your contributions, and I'm going to call this meeting adjourned at 10:34. Sorry for the dink-dink-dink. Thank you.